Hey everyone. Today, we're discussing autism and bringing awareness and resources to the table. And prior to filming, we had a very intense conversation on what that looks like for people that look like us, so people of color, and our expectations for DOE as well as private schools and other sectors moving forward for our children. And we can talk about this until we're blue in the face, but talking about it, we need a follow-up. So for me, I always feel that people have great ideas and there's a lot of great intentions behind the things that we do, but it's the follow-up that kind of gets left in the dust. So
exactly.
my whole being right now is to fulfill the follow-up because I'm not special. I'm not someone that decided I'm going to fight for autism and the rights of people that are autistic. Many people feel like I do, but what are we doing as the next step to see that these changes are being made? So today I have Blase here with me, and I'll allow him to introduce himself. He's a man who wears many hats, a man of profession, and he's here today not only to support, but also share his light on autism and his personal experience.
Yes. Hi everybody, I'm Blase Michael Lismore. I'm an entertainer, former Capitol Records and recording artist, and I won't just throw all of my credentials out there.
Because there's many.
There are many, and I'm blessed, I'm truly blessed. And, the subject of autism, I've seen a lot of autistic people, and a lot of people look at them, they look upon them as subpar, substandard, like they're not really intelligent and things like that. But a lot of autistic people have really triumphed and done a lot of fantastic things, that people would consider
what I like to call superpowers.
Superpowers, yes. And a lot of times, many times they are misdiagnosed by so-called professionals. They might fit the physical presentation of someone being autistic. Sometimes that's a misnomer right there, just looking at a person, because the average person that they deem autistic, they have a certain physical appearance.
So let me add to say, first I want to say thank you to a good friend of mine, Jose Colon. We're actually in his establishment at the Stars Cafe, and he is not, a foreign to supporting my endeavors, my community work. He stands by me 100%. So giving us the space and opportunity to do this here, I treasure him deeply. And so we had conversations hours prior to this, and we talked about autism and what does that really mean. And for many people that look like us, and I'm not excluding other races, right? But I have to talk about mine.
Right, absolutely.
Because that's the subject today. There's a lot of resources that are missing and misinformation, and people are misguided and miseducated.
Absolutely.
And in those elements, when we have resources missing and there's miseducation, there's lack for the family. And many of our children that enter public schools and they have these, challenges, which I like to call superpowers, and they go into, public schools, they're automatically diagnosed with an IEP.
Absolutely.
And what that does is say what this person can and cannot do. At times it can be beneficial because it serves a purpose of adding resources, but it's also missing a big component, and that big component is why we're here today, and that's family support. Because we're dealing with someone that's autistic, which I personally have have that experience, there's a lot of resources that are needed.
Right.
And not just for the child, but again for the family.
For the family.
And what does that look like? You know, a lot of our children at an early age in the most recent years have been diagnosed. But what happens to the ones that are not?
Exactly.
What happens to the ones that the parents don't really understand what autism looks like?
That's true. That's true.
And, you know, and just could be believing that their child is displaying just a tantrum, or they don't know what's really going on with their child or children, or even their grandchildren, right? What happens after that? So now they're placed in the public school, and the public school team says, this child has this, and this is what we got to do.
Exactly.
Where is the family support? Now, if we're talking about a lot of the children receiving services when they enter school, we're talking about the average child enters school at the age of 5. Not all kids go to preschool. Some do, so we'll say 4.
Right.
To speak on it, some now 3 years old. On an average, we would say 4, preschool.
True.
We're now talking about 4 years being erased of this child being able to have services to help them maximize their potential of a good life.
That's true.
And what does that good life look like? It looks different for all of us, even for people who don't have these deemed challenges.
True.
But now we're saying at 5 years old, these are the resources we're going to provide you. But what they're not saying is that a lot of those resources are cut. Once the child gets into school. So today we're discussing what we can do as a collective to enhance resources, to make people more aware of their rights, and as a collective what we can do to change that. Because at any stage of life you deserve to have the best services, right?
Absolutely.
As a person over 65, over 40, over 30, what does that look like for you? And I could say New York State has done a great job in being more aware of what autism looks like, but we have a long way to go. So I know you shared on Sidebar Conversation that you personally have someone, close to you that has autism. So what does that look like for you, your family, your friends?
Well, I don't personally have someone who has autism, but my grandson has a friend.
Okay.
That has autism. And like you were talking about the superpower thing.
Yes.
The kid has these superpowers. He doesn't let any of that diagnosis slow him down. So I thought that was very impressionable, to hear that. And you cannot just put limits on these kids. Like you said, they need resources. And the way that you're going to get those resources is that a spotlight has to be shown upon that entire situation.
Absolutely, 100%.
If not, and it's just lip service and it's a paper tiger. Tiger would.
You guys get that?
That's
I'm glad you said that, Blase. So today's conversation, for those who are watching, and I hope many people actually tune into this and say, I want to get involved in whatever they got going on. The lip service part.
Right.
We can want, and I think I mentioned this in a different way, right? I like yours better than lip service, but there has to be some proaction behind, our reaction has to have some go-to. We have to have influencers and people to have our back, and too often, and this is no disrespect to the families. I'm actually crediting them because it takes a lot to deal with a child who has autism, because their behavior varies, right?
Exactly.
And there's a lot of things that go with it, personality-wise, environmental, and family. but the families need services. So my purpose today is to say we need to increase the awareness of family service, not just individual planning.
Exactly.
Because it's not an individual, it's
No,
a family.
Family
It's
affair.
a family affair.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a family affair. And once we service the family, that child can do a lot better. We also need a space, an opportunity to increase services. Now, you have someone like Toni Braxton, and I like to reference her a lot because she was very transparent about her journey with her son, who's autistic.
That's right.
You know, and she was an advocate, she was adamant, she was assertive, and reassuring that her child receives the best. But we're talking about Toni Braxton. Exactly. We're talking about one of the few that have that extra money, wherewithal to get these resources. But should that really be the case for our children?
Not at all.
And the ones we love? Should we not receive the same resources that Toni Braxton is able to give to her son?
True.
You know, living in New York City and being a Brooklynite all my life, I've seen all the dollars being poured into New York for different reasons, and autism is a big reason why we need to pour more dollars.
Absolutely.
So today is really about a call for action, getting people's attention and saying we need to do a lot more. You know, we are, even with dyslexia, we have many students right now in schools, again, referencing to what you said, misdiagnosed or diagnosed, but not receiving the proper tools that they need. And a good friend of mine, he actually shared a very sentimental story, and I won't say his name because I'm not sure if he wants me to share it, but he spoke about his experience as a child with dyslexia and how it was for him, and how he remembered this one teacher who really had his back and was able to see that it's not that he couldn't do the work, it's he was missing the tools to get the work done.
Exactly. If you don't have the proper tools, you know, you're not going to get the job done correctly.
So would you agree with me, Blase, that sometimes those tools depend on your zip code?
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt. You know, that is a no-brainer. And it's always been like that, but there is such a thing where it's always been like that, but it's got to be a change, a paradigm shift, if you will.
I love that.
Yeah, it has to be. Otherwise, you know, you're just coasting along on that calm body of water. There has to be a point where some waves come in, a rogue wave comes in to shake all of that up. And the resources are always there. They're just distributed as the powers that be want them to be distributed. Yeah.
So I love that you said that, and brings me to my next point. So there is no secret that I ran for city council. You was a part of that. You was a part of the blood, sweat, and tears, right?
Yes.
And you were outside, as the young people would say. So you saw the work that we as a team had to put forward, and there's so much that still has to be done. So I bring up the campaign because we just had an election on November 7th, and you know, I ran for many different reasons, but one particular reason was because I wanted to enhance the quality of life for my people. And so when people ask me, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Because that's so broad. There's so many ways to chop that down, right? Like if you're chopping onions for dinner. There's so many ways. And I gave the 101 ways of why. And this is one of the reasons. It's because of what you said. The distribution of resources.
Right.
That's why I urge a lot of people to go vote. Because your vote is your power. Politicians pay attention to their voters.
Yes.
They pay attention to who's voting and who's not.
True.
And there is no secret, and some politicians are gonna watch this video and say, "Oh my God, did she say that?" Yes, I said it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they know who votes, and the person who votes will be the person that gets the most attention.
True.
Our community, again, is going back to, we talking about East New York, Brownsville, and there's been a great change, I would say in a positive way, on the connection of voting and knowing your rights and your right to choice and your rights to vote. But there is still a disconnect.
Of course.
On what needs to be done. So for me, it was more about bringing resources to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So often there's poverty pimping, and I discussed that in my upcoming book, Poverty Pimping. And what does that mean? We need to put pressure on those elected officials that we vote for and demand change.
Of course.
And it just can't be, you bring me a turkey because the holidays are coming up and a ham and I'm happy. But I need resources at the table that not only service me, but my family.
And it's amazing how that little ploy, that little poverty pimping works. Because it's a quick fix.
A quick fix.
It's like a junkie, looking for a quick fix. You come along with the hot dogs and the cookout for that one day or that week, right? Yeah. And the people, their thirst has been quenched. Mm-hmm. But for how long?
For how long?
There's no sustainability to it, And they keep falling for the same thing over and over and over. And these pimps, just like the pulpit pimps, same thing, get behind the pulpit and pimp the people, the congregation. And they fall for it because there's a lot of rhetoric, with no follow-up.
With no follow-up.
No follow-up.
With no follow-up. And so because of that, again, this is what influenced tonight's discussion on resources. Our community needs more resources. I recently became a partner of a driving school. Mm-hmm. And part of our initiative is to offer free CDL permit training. So people are now able to come to us, train to earn a permit for free, and then move forward to CDL. That increases job opportunities. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about education and job opportunities that help you sustain yourself. So when we really tap into the education system and we're saying that individual planning is good, which I'm not discrediting, but we need family planning.
Of course.
And, people that have these challenges, I don't like to use the word disability, but I would say challenges for the sake of this conversation. We need to add resources to the table. Mm-hmm. And those resources extend more than an hour or two in school or at home. Mm-hmm. They should be more put to the table for people with autism, for families with children with autism. And I am going to fight 110% on this cause. I'm asking elected officials to really listen to this video and jump on board, because I am pursuing them to change on a few things. And I would like to present, a proposal for a bill, an educational bill to change what we say is deemed the right thing for people with autism. Mm-hmm. And when you come to us for votes, you have to tackle all things, right?
Exactly.
So it's not just housing insecurities. We're talking about jobs, education system, things that have to do with family, not just individuals.
Exactly.
And so, on that note, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back real soon.